Okay, let's get into this. The stack of sources you've pulled together for this deep dive. I mean, they read less like a straightforward report and more like, I don't know, an apocalyptic thriller.
That's a great way to put it. It's all anchored by these incredibly disturbing and very clinical medical reports.
Right. So our mission today, it's not just about, recapping a story. It's really about unpacking what's going on here. We have global catastrophe, this really intense religious investigation.
And these two, well, it turns out to be three completely impossible pregnancies happening all at once across different continents.
It's monumental. And I think before we even get to the pregnancies, we have to set the stage. The sources are very clear that this is all happening against just a terrifying global backdrop.
A world on the brink. I mean, that's not an exaggeration based on the material. This isn't just a coincidence, not just a bad year. The investigators' own notes call it a pre-apocalyptic environment.
So let's start there with that context. What exactly is the world facing? We're told a new strain of polio breaks out.
Yeah, a deadlier, faster strain of poliomyelitis.
Mm.
And it hits these really high-profile modern locations.
It's not in some remote place.
No, not all. It's in Los Angeles at Cedars-Sinai and simultaneously in Boston at St. Catherine's. The sources call it the second coming of the dreaded disease. But this version is just terrifyingly efficient.
And the really horrifying detail is that it's vaccine resistant, isn't it?
Precisely. That's the part that shatters public confidence. The old Salk and Sabin vaccines, they do nothing.
Wait.
So it's hitting vaccinated children.
Oh, wow.
And the descriptions of the pediatric wards, it's just chaos. Doctors trying to straighten these contorted limbs, the constant wailing. It's a modern medical nightmare.
And this isn't happening in a vacuum. It's running parallel to a whole cascade of other disasters.
A complete cascade. You have famine sweeping across India, a generalized plague reported all across Asia, the genocide in Rwanda is unfolding.
And an Ebola-like hemorrhagic plague in France.
In France, yes. Specifically near Lourdes, which is, this famous miraculous shrine.
Yeah.
That geographic detail feels intentional.
It really does. So this massive, overwhelming wave of human suffering, that's the context for the main event.
It's essential. It suggests that the central mystery here, the virgin pregnancies, isn't just some local curiosity. It's the focal point of a massive, maybe even a coordinated spiritual crisis.
And the authorities, who are already just drowning in all this calamity, they realize they need help.
And they turn to a very unlikely person.
Right. Which brings us to Anne Fitzgerald. She's a private investigator in Boston, but her resume is just unique.
It's perfect for this, in a strange way. She's a former Dominican nun, she has a master's in psychology from Harvard, and she has real street experience, 3.5 years with the Boston PD.
The spiritual and the secular all rolled into one.
Exactly. And Cardinal John Rooney of the Boston Archdiocese, he knows her, he trusts her, and he comes to her with this mission that is so bizarre, he basically says it's non-negotiable.
He asks her 2 questions, right?
Just 2 very blunt questions. 1, about her faith, and 2, if she still carries her Smith & Wesson, she says yes to both, and he hires her on the spot.
And the mission is to investigate a 16-year-old girl, Kathleen Bevier, in Newport, Rhode Island.
Who is 8 months pregnant and claiming she's still a virgin.
Anne's reaction is predictable.
Completely. She calls it a hoax, tells him to save his money, but Rooney is just so determined. You can feel the weight of all that global suffering pushing him, and he pushes her.
She has to find out if this is a divine miracle or just a very dangerous lie in the middle of all this confusion.
But you have to keep that global confusion in mind, because what the sources eventually show us, what's so brilliant about the setup, is that Kathleen's pregnancy, the one everyone is watching,
It's the decoy.
it's the decoy. And the question becomes, why would any force, divine or otherwise, need such an elaborate, public, and medically verifiable distraction?
Because the medical evidence is so compelling, that's the hook.
Exactly. And that's why we have to start with Kathleen's story.
Okay, so let's profile Kathleen Bevier. She's not the kind of person you'd immediately suspect of making something like this up.
Not at all. She's 16, lives in this huge Newport estate, Sun Cottage. She's athletic, focused, and her friends say she has this personal code of honor thing against lying. She's presented as having very high integrity.
Which makes her claim even more high stakes.
Right. But this very composed girl is completely shattered by a trauma right before Anne even meets her.
The incident at the Women's Medical Center in Southie?
Yes. She's late for a doctor's appointment. She walks in and finds her doctor, Dr. Higgins.
And the description is just nightmarish.
It's brutally specific. Higgins is hanging from a hook on the wall, a cord tied in a slip knot. Her neck is stretched to, it says, twice its normal length.
And her eyes. That detail about the petechial hemorrhaging, that's a sign of violent strangulation.
It is. It's a forensic detail. The sources are making it clear this wasn't a suicide. And the shock of seeing that,
Yeah.
for a pregnant 16-year-old, it just breaks her.
She collapses, but then something else happens.
A supernatural influence seems to take over right then and there. She attempts suicide.
With an instrument from a medical tray.
Yet she slices her wrist twice, sinking to her knees right under the corpse. And she reports hearing this deep, commanding voice.
What did the voice say?
It told her, "You know what you have to do, Kathleen. It's the right thing."
Chilling. That's the first real sign that some other entity is actively involved, actively targeting her.
Absolutely. And the final image from that scene,
Mm-hmm.
she passes out in a posture that looks like prayer,
Yeah.
beneath the swinging body of her doctor, whose mouth, the source says, seems to be frozen in a knowing smile.
So the victim of the violence is mocking the victim of the possession. It's just dark.
It defines the nature of the entire investigation from the start.
So Anne Fitzgerald comes in, and she knows the trauma is real, but the central claim, the virgin birth, that needs rock-solid proof.
Especially if the church wants to use this as some kind of beacon of hope while the world is falling apart. They can't afford for it to be a hoax.
Which is why they bring in an outsider.
Yes, and this is where the sources really establish their credibility. Cardinal Rooney gets Dr. Shapiro, a very well-respected non-Catholic gynecologist from New York, to do the exam.
No claims of bias.
Zero. He comes to Sun Cottage in Newport, and this examination is the absolute turning point of the public story.
He uses a Doppler stethoscope first, right?
He does. And he confirms it immediately. A rapid beating of a tiny heart. The pregnancy is real.
But then comes the definitive part, the observation that changes everything.
Dr. Shapiro can't even use a speculum. He has to use surgical gloves to spread her labia, and what he sees just stuns him.
The hymen?
The hymen is soft, pink, and perfectly intact. There's no sign of penetration, except for one tiny
Oh,
detail.
the vertical opening.
A vertical squiggle of an opening is how it's described.
Yeah.
And crucially, it's too small to admit anything larger than matchstick.
And Shapiro, the expert, is just floored.
He literally mutters, "I've never seen this before." He signs a medical report stating definitively that Kathleen Bevier is pregnant and her hymen is definitely intact.
So there it is, an unshakable medical fact from an objective expert. She is physically a virgin, but she is 8 months pregnant.
And that's why the world starts to believe this could be the second coming.
But it leaves the biggest mystery of all. How did the conception actually happen?
Well, Kathleen won't talk about it at first. The night of January 23rd, with a boy named Jamie Jordan III, she just keeps insisting she didn't go all the way.
Meanwhile, Jamie is doing the opposite. He's bragging all over his high school.
Oh, yeah. He's the big man on campus. The source quotes him bragging that he broke a vagina from Salvia Regina. He thinks he's the father of the new Messiah.
Which makes him a problem for Anne's investigation. She has to shut him down.
She has to. She confronts him at the high school. He's arrogant, belligerent, and when she pushes him on it, he shoves her to the ground, screaming about how he had her.
But Anne, with her police background, she doesn't back down. She uses the one weapon she has.
The medical report.
Exactly.
She tells him that Kathleen has been medically confirmed to be a virgin, and his whole tough guy act just crumbles.
His lie is exposed.
Instantly. His ego, his social status, it all just evaporates.
Yeah.
And he admits it. Nothing happened. He's a total jerk about it, trying to save face. But he confesses.
So the alleged father is not the father, but there's still a baby. The real story doesn't come out until much, much later.
Not until Kathleen is in labor. The extreme physical and psychological stress just breaks open this repressed memory.
About what really happened that night at Satch's Point.
She remembers Jamie going berserk in nuclear when she said no. He was furious.
Threw her out of his car, but then he came back.
He came back with his friends, Peter Thompson and Chris Raleigh. Kathleen was on the ground, terrified.
And he attacked her.
He did. He hit her in the head from behind. And this is just the sickening detail that explains everything. She remembers seeing his face over her, and he ejaculated all over her, on her thigh.
So it wasn't an act of intimacy. It was degradation. It was revenge.
Exactly. And that solves the medical mystery. The semen traveled along the external tissues and found its way to that tiny opening Dr. Shapiro saw.
So she is pregnant, but she is still physically a virgin. The medical facts hold up, but the conception is anything but divine.
It's an act of human malice. And that's what makes Kathleen's case the perfect decoy miracle.
Yeah.
It has just enough truth to draw all the attention from the media, from the Vatican, and from other forces.
While the real spiritual battle is brewing somewhere else entirely.
The shadows.
Okay, so with the facts established in America, the Vatican's focus has to broaden. And this is where we meet Father Nicholas Rossetti.
Yes, the narrative shifts to the Holy See, and they're not treating this like a medical puzzle. For them, it's a full-blown existential crisis.
And Rossetti is their chief investigator. He's ambitious, very smart, and fiercely loyal to the Pope, who's dying.
But he's already fighting his own war. His internal state is really central to believing the supernatural side of this story. He is not a stable, detached observer.
He's convinced all the plagues, all the global chaos, it's all tied to the mysteries.
He is. And he's paying a price for it. He's being tormented by that same deep, commanding voice, by hideous laughter. He's having seizures, physical attacks. He's the perfect foil to Anne's very grounded, skeptical approach.
His investigation leads him to the truth that shatters this idea of a single American miracle.
The revelation is simple, but world-changing for them. Kathleen is not alone.
So Rossetti travels.
He travels far away from the media circus in Newport. He goes to Mam Cross, Ireland, to investigate a 14-year-old girl named Colleen Deirdre Gallagher.
And she is also pregnant.
Also pregnant, and also medically confirmed to be a virgin.
The contrast between the two girls is just staggering.
Completely. Kathleen is in a mansion with expert doctors. Colleen is in poverty in this tiny thatched cottage in a medieval-looking hamlet, trying to care for her mother who's had a stroke.
And the local church is handling it very differently.
Oh, totally. The Irish church is terrified of scandal. They're trying to suppress the whole story, dismissing Colleen as a fraud, keeping her completely hidden, which, as the sources suggest, just creates the perfect environment for darker forces to work unnoticed.
When Anne finds out about this, she has this moment of clarity.
She does. She says,
Yeah.
Everything is happening in great numbers right now. Plagues, deaths, illnesses, even virgins. It's the scariest time ever on the earth. She sees the pattern, the sheer scale of it all.
Which takes us right to the top, to the Vatican and to the dying Pope Pius XIII.
Who is just consumed by this. He's afraid he won't live long enough to find out which girl is carrying the divine child. For him, the fate of the world rests on figuring this out.
And his fear isn't just abstract theology, it's rooted in a very real, very specific historical event.
The miracle at Fatima, October 13th, 1917.
We have to pause on this because Fatima is so huge in this tradition. This wasn't some private vision.
No, it was a public spectacle. 110,000 people saw it, including the Pope himself, when he was just a boy. The sources describe the rain stopping, the clouds parting, and the sun itself beginning to tremble and spin at a terrifying speed toward the earth.
It was a prophecy.
It was. The Lady of Fatima foretold 3 secrets about the end of World War I, the rise of Russia, and the future actions of the devil that would bring global suffering.
So for the dying Pope, what's happening now? The polio, the wars, the 2 virgins, this is it. This is the prophecy coming true.
Exactly. He's not just afraid of his own death. He's afraid of the spiritual chaos his death will leave behind.
And Rossetti's own internal conflict really comes to a head when he's with the dying Monsignor Stingley. That scene is incredibly disturbing.
It's terrifying. Stingley's face goes bone white. Foam is coming out of his mouth, and he's screaming, fighting something that isn't there.
He's shouting about legions of devils, fallen angels everywhere.
And then he gives Rossetti his final critical warning, shouted in agony. He says, look beyond the 2 virgins.
And that's the key to the whole thing right there.
That's the key. It confirms that the focus on Kathleen and Colleen is a misdirection. The real game is something bigger. And Rossetti is left alone to figure it out.
Is one the savior and one the beast? Or are they both a distraction?
He doesn't know. And he's pushed over the edge from investigator to, really, a soldier in a supernatural war.
And that's exactly where the story goes next. The abstract torment becomes brutally, physically violent.
Right. The sources shift gears here. The investigation is over. The direct attacks begin. A non-human force starts clearing the board. And the first target is Jamie Jordan.
The boy who started the decoy miracle, he's already a wreck after Anne exposed his lie.
And now the voice that tormented Kathleen starts in on him, screaming in his head, you deserve to die. You know what you did.
It drives him mad.
Completely. He crashes his Mercedes SLK at Setchu's Point, the exact spot where he assaulted Kathleen.
The police call it an accident.
But his friends tell Anne they think he was murdered, or at least driven to do it. It's a kind of chilling spiritual justice.
Then the violence follows Kathleen home. Sun Cottage is no longer safe.
No. The housekeeper, Ida Walsh, who had been like family to Kathleen, she suddenly just turns.
She becomes possessed.
A total psychological flip. She starts screaming at Kathleen, calling her Satan's whore, convinced the baby is a demon.
And she attacks her
with a long, sharp fillet knife, slashing at her 8-month pregnant stomach.
Kathleen is panicked, trying to run, trying to protect the baby.
And Ida shoves her hard, sending her tumbling down this steep wooden staircase.
It's an incredibly tense moment, and it forces Anne Fitzgerald, the investigator, to become something else entirely.
She has to become a soldier. Ida is still screaming, still possessed, chasing Kathleen out onto a steep roof over a flagstone patio. There's no talking her down.
And Anne has her Smith & Wesson.
She takes a shooter's stance. She realizes this is war. She has to act.
She shoots Ida Walsh
in the neck. Kills her instantly. And the sources make it very clear. Anne, the former nun, understood that she had to kill a human being to save that child, decoy or not.
That shooting forces everyone's hand. The Vatican knows they have to move Kathleen immediately.
Which leads to this great tactical scene, showing off Anne's police training.
The decoy operation at the airport.
A classic misdirection. Anne puts on a shawl, stuffs a pillow under her dress, and draws all the media, all the news vans, while the real Kathleen is snuck out.
They go to a safe house in France with Justin O'Carroll, the priest.
Yes, Anne's former lover, now a priest sent by Rooney to help. They're hoping for a quiet sanctuary.
But the plague follows them.
Immediately. The same polio strain breaks out in Paris. The source says stricken children are streaming into the local hospital. It's like Kathleen is a magnet for disaster.
And Anne spots something else there, the watcher.
Yeah, a really ominous detail. A man in a khaki coat and wire-rimmed glasses, just standing in the shadows watching the villa. Her detective instincts go crazy. She knows he's tracking them.
At the same time, the horror is getting even worse back in Ireland.
It is. Justin and Rossetti arrive at Colleen's little cottage in Mem Cross.
And Justin says the place just feels wrong.
He does. A sense of pervasive dread. Rossetti, who is just a raw nerve at this point, bursts into the house.
And they find a gruesome scene upstairs.
Colleen's mother and sister Catherine hanging dead from the ceiling. The evil one has been there.
And before they can even process it, the local priest, Father Flannery, shows up.
He does. And Rossetti doesn't even hesitate. He's in this hyper-alert spiritual combat mode. He sees Flannery and doesn't see a man.
He sees a manifestation of evil.
And he screams, "Begone, Satan," and just kills him.
Then he tells Justin to watch the body and to kill Father Flannery again if he has to. It shows how far gone Rossetti is. He's fighting demons in the flesh.
His sanity is just completely fractured. And then to make it worse, he's visited by a ghost, a Dr. Dennis Murphy, who's supposedly delivered Colleen.
But he's been dead for 10 years.
10 years. The devil is playing these sophisticated psychological games now, blurring reality. Rossetti has nothing left to rely on but his own desperate, violent faith.
The stage is now set for the two final confrontations, two stories.
And the tension is just unbearable. The story splits, and you have these two completely different showdowns happening at once.
First, Kathleen. She's moved to a hospital in Rome, Salvatore Mundi.
A very exclusive private hospital. But the privacy ends right outside the city gates.
Because outside the Vatican, it's a massive spectacle.
Hundreds of thousands of people, packed in, screaming a miracle, waving handkerchiefs. It is the biggest media event in human history.
But inside the delivery room, it's quiet. Just Anne and Kathleen. And that's when the voice comes back.
It does. And this time, it targets Anne directly.
It screams in her mind, "Kill the child."
It tells her the baby is the beast, Lucifer's son, sent to exalt the devil. And Anne, this tough ex-cop, is just terrified. She's trembling, looking at the surgical instrument.
Specifically at a scalpel.
Yes. She feels this overwhelming compulsion to obey. It's this moment of pure existential horror. Does she have to commit infanticide to save the world?
She's on the brink of doing it.
She is. She's taking a step closer to the baby, reciting prayers. But then the intervention comes. Not from the supernatural, but from the human.
The obstetrician, Dr. Annunziata.
He sees the look on her face. He hands the baby to a nurse, and he whispers something to Anne.
And what he says is the definitive statement on this entire decoy plot.
He says, "This is not a holy child, but he is still a child of God."
Not a holy child. He confirms it. This isn't the savior.
But he also affirms the baby's humanity. He's
Yeah.
still a child of God. And that just neutralizes the threat. It breaks the voice's command. Anne realizes she doesn't have to kill him.
And at that exact moment,
Instantly, miraculously, all the global plagues stop. The polio, the famines, the hemorrhagic fevers, they just end.
so the decoy miracle worked. It drew all the attention to Rome, and its birth somehow ended the global suffering.
It fulfilled its purpose as a grand distraction. But the real danger, the true horror, was unfolding 1,500 miles away in total secrecy.
Up in Ireland.
In that barn, Colleen's grim manger, Justin O'Carroll and the deeply disturbed father Rossetti are delivering the baby.
Justin is just in awe of the process of birth, but Rossetti is different.
Rossetti is terrifying. He refuses to let Colleen even see the baby's face. He snatches the infant away, leaving her crying and totally confused.
And then he tells Justin his conclusion.
He does. He confirms that this child, Colleen's child, is the real threat. He says it's the beast foretold by Fatima.
Because of what he saw in its eyes.
Yes. He tells Justin he saw thousands of eyes like tiny pinpricks, the eyes of the legions of fallen angels that Monsignor Stingley warned him about.
For Rossetti, this is the moment of truth. He's holding the Antichrist.
And he knows what he has to do. He drives Justin and the baby to these lonely limestone cliffs overlooking the Irish Sea.
Justin is horrified. He realizes Rossetti is about to murder a child.
Or save the world. He doesn't know. He demands to see the child's face for himself.
And Rossetti shows him. Then he just steps off the cliff.
Holding the child. A murder-suicide to destroy the beast.
And the description of the fall is one of the most chilling things in these sources.
It is. The infant doesn't cry. It struggles. It clings to Rossetti's face with its teeth. And at the same time, thousands of black birds, his devils, are swooping and shrieking all around them.
Justin watches the beast being taken and damned to eternity.
He thinks. But the spiritual war isn't quite over. There's one last blow for Anne back in Rome.
She's walking alone, exhausted, and she's attacked.
An unseen blow knocks her to the ground, and the voice speaks to her one last time.
And it tells her that Justin and Rossetti are both dead.
Yes, it confirms the price that was paid in Ireland. And it taunts Anne. It calls her willful and disobedient for not killing Kathleen's baby.
So her intervention, her choice, actually foiled one of the devil's plans.
It seems so. And then, in this final grotesque display of power, the devil uses Rossetti's corpse as a puppet to speak to her before she finally passes out.
A truly horrifying end to the battle, but the sources suggest the devil is a liar.
Exactly. Which brings us to the final part of this deep dive.
Right, because despite the devil's claim, Justin O'Carroll survived.
He did. He finds Anne in Rome, alive, and confirms everything that happened on that cliff.
He validates Rossetti's act. He says he saw that same fathomless evil in the baby's eyes.
He does. And he also tells her that Colleen, the other mother, is safe. She's being cared for at a seminary, away from all of this.
And then the human element, which has been almost completely overshadowed, it comes roaring back.
Anne reveals her own secret. She's pregnant. A home test confirmed it.
And the timing implies the father is Justin.
It does. And for Justin, who was already on the edge of leaving the priesthood, this changes everything. He proposes. He chooses a life with her.
A moment of genuine human love after all that supernatural horror.
And this is what leads to the final beautiful twist in the sources. The revelation of the true miracle.
It wasn't the spectacle in Rome. It wasn't the horror in Ireland.
It was a child born 9 months later in total obscurity. Anne gives birth to a baby girl at Brigham and Women's in Boston.
And the description of the baby's eyes is so deliberate. 2 beautiful blue ones. A direct contrast to the thousands of pinprick eyes of the beast.
They name her Noel. And Anne realizes, in that moment, that this is the true holy child, the savior of us all, born not in a media circus, but in a quiet hospital out of human love and courage.
Then the sources jump forward. An epilogue, 18 years later.
Noel's a university student. She wants to be a doctor. She's compassionate, just like her mother.
And she performs her first miracle.
She does. She sees a terrible car accident, a whole family killed instantly, and moved by this profound compassion, she prays and brings them all back to life, completely healed.
But the story doesn't end on that hopeful note. There's one last provocative detail.
The final chilling sentence. Noel is being watched.
By a boy with fathomless eyes?
A boy who had been washed up, cold and hungry on a beach 19 years before. It's Colleen's child, the beast. He survived the fall.
So the evil wasn't destroyed on that cliff.
It just went underground. It grew up in the world, waiting, and is now watching the true savior. The war isn't over.
So when we put all of this together, the reports, the memos, the notes, what have we really learned?
I think what it maps out is this comprehensive cosmic battle where the thing everyone thought was the main event, Kathleen's pregnancy, was actually just a brilliant strategic distraction.
A decoy miracle.
Precisely. The real battle was over two completely different children, Colleen's, the beast, and Anne's daughter, Noelle, the true savior. Kathleen's story just served to draw the world's attention and sow enough chaos for the real players to get into position.
And what's so wild and frankly so troubling is the scale of the evil's plot. The global plagues, the possessions, the murders, they weren't signs that the savior was coming.
No, the sources suggest they were a massive coordinated cover for the birth of the beast, obscuring the real threat until the very last second.
Which means the most sensationalized, most documented event in Rome was actually the least important, spiritually speaking.
It's a profound irony. The sources really emphasize that the true miracle, Noelle's birth, happened quietly. It was motivated by love and courage, far away from any cameras. It was an act of personal redemption, not a global PR event.
So we'll leave you with a final, provocative thought to consider. If you accept the logic of this narrative, this hidden spiritual conflict, what if, even today, in our rational, information-saturated world, the true forces of good and evil are always hiding in plain sight? And what if our ability to tell the difference between the decoy, the beast, and the true savior? What if it doesn't depend on miracles on TV or screaming headlines, but on something much quieter, on the faith, the courage, and the simple discernment of the human heart?